So, when I found something out about my fiancée, I was a little thrown off. So, what did I do? I decided to make her sign a prenup. Oh man, did I expect this to happen next. Guys, here we go. Dad survived. His name's Mike. He survived merely because he had his seatbelt on, but not without serious bruises and a fractured bone. But Mr. Shadrach, Dad's boss, wasn't so lucky. He'd always had a disdain for seatbelts and never saw a need to use it. Dad would always tell him, "Oh, you may not know just when that seatbelt will save your life, sir." And that's unfortunate for Mr. Shadrach, cause if he had his seatbelt on, his skull and neck would have not been broken by the impact of the truck that slammed into their own car, forcing Mr. Shadrach, a patient with high blood pressure, through the windshield of the car. His death was tragic but instant. That accident changed everything. With Dad's boss dead, Dad got kicked out of his job by Shadrach's second wife, Miss Brenda, who blamed him for the death of her husband. Dad got fired from the company by Miss Brenda, who had been taken over the executive position without any penny for the 20 solid years of his life dedicated to the company and to Mr. Shadrach as his personal driver. You see, Mr. Shadrach's first wife, Miss Irene, with whom he started Shir, S-H-I-R, a liquor company that was named after their first two initials, had died a few years ago of cancer, leaving Mr. Shadrach with 3 children to take care of, with the task of managing a growing business and the responsibility of taking care of his children. Mr. Shadrach felt the need to remarry, and that was just what he did. 3 years after her death, he got married to his second wife, Miss Brenda. Miss Brenda was, as my dad would call her, a cold, slow snake waiting to strike. She sent my dad a resignation letter without compensation while he was still in the hospital. Not just that, she equally fired the old staff of the company, changing its name to Brenda's Liquor Co. As for the children of late Mr. Shadrach, nothing had them since been heard of. The news of his sudden resignation sent Dad into depression at the hospital. It was indeed a very difficult time for us as a family. We had to move to a smaller house because we could not afford paying for the big one, and had to drop out of school to menial jobs just to support Mother, Joe, my younger brother, and my sick dad. I found a temporary job as a delivery boy of food vending. The pay wasn't much, but it was helpful at the time. Like I said, it was a temporary job, and soon it was over. My mom, Miss Vera, was a gifted and talented chef who taught me all about cooking, but the weight of the family responsibility had taken a huge toll on her. I wonder how I could have ever managed through without the support and encouragement of Uncle Levi. He showed up just right when we needed him the most. Right in the comfort of our little home, Delicious Delicacies, DD, was born. But Uncle Levi was the brain behind it, and he first gave me the idea to go into it, and even gave me the financial support I needed. Uncle Levi was a great man, so I was the chef and my younger brother Joe was the delivery boy. I would sometimes assist my brother in doing delivery when we had a few orders. In time, Delicious Delicacies began to grow. We started out in a little house, with just I and my brother helping me, but we grew into a company with 5 branches with over 40 delivery men, 15 cooks aside from minor workers such as 20 security guards, and 10 cleaners, 10 gardeners, and 10 gatemen. The years past have been kind with more other businesses that I now own aside from DD. Uncle Levi would from time to time stop by to check on us briefly, and for a hot black coffee with fried chips and egg sauce, Uncle Levi would gladly stay a little while longer. Yes, it was always fun having Uncle Levi around. That man was a living, working fountain of flowing ideas with a good sense of humor. Uncle Levi was Dad's younger brother, who easily had his way of getting into Dad's skin and making him laugh both at the same time. But unlike my dad, he was yet unmarried. He only had a 10-year-old daughter, Lily, from his previous relationship that failed. Uncle Levi was a very optimistic man who always was nearly positive about everything. Everything except for marriage. He owned a shopping mall, so he was financially stable. I remember how Dad would get into arguments with him about his stance on women and marriage, and just how unproductive those arguments usually were. So imagine our jaw-dropping surprise a year or so later, when Uncle Levi brought with him a lady, Lady Gold, to the mansion I and Joe built for our parents to introduce her to us as his wife-to-be. Nothing prepared us for what that surprise of the evening when Uncle Levi was very happy. I don't think I've ever seen him that happy before, as he just could not take his hands off Lady Gold. Now, like I said, Uncle Levi was the optimist who tends to see the good in everyone, but Dad wasn't. Dad had this uncanny ability to see right through people. Dad did not trust her, and neither did Mother. Lady Gold was a 30-year-old lawyer, or she claimed, but there was something off about her. She was very smart and cunning. Deception was written all over her face, and she even admitted at dining table to having used it to her advantage to, quote, help a course for a greater good. Like, seriously? And Uncle Levi saw nothing wrong with having such a deceiver for a wife. Dad had another argument with Uncle Levi, only this time, it wasn't about him getting married, but about him getting married to Lady Gold. After that argument, Uncle Levi became a bit distant from us, and Lady Gold had a lot to do with it. Not sooner than that, Uncle Levi came to my office with a wedding invitation for myself and for my dad. On opening the wedding card, sure, it was, he was still going ahead to get married to Lady Gold. Months quickly flew by, seeing them at the church altar in holy matrimony. I could tell Dad was not happy, knowing his guts wasn't lying about who Lady Gold is and what she's capable of doing. But Uncle Levi's mind is already made up. Okay, so 6 months after the wedding, healthy and lively Uncle Levi was hospitalized. It was way too fast. What we knew from the doctor was he was having stress and sleeping disorders, which did not really add up to the person we knew. On getting to see him at the hospital, Uncle Levi was looking very pale. Doctors said it was due to shortage of blood. We spent some good quality time together with little Lily, who was there with him at his sickbed. Every time I tried asking him about Lady Gold, his wife, his face always changed. Uncle Levi was an open book who did not really know how to hide his emotions. I could tell something was wrong, but Uncle Levi would not want to talk about it. Perhaps he was saddened with regret and grief about not seeing what we all saw and warned him against. And just perhaps he was too proud to admit he was wrong and needed help. Whichever way, Uncle Levi was dying in silence to the pains he was going through. Just one look will tell you 1,000 words. I left him at the hospital, taking little Lily with me to the house. Lady Gold, his wife, was out of town. Unknowns to me, that would be our last time together. It's winter again, and here I was, standing over and watching the silver casket of Uncle Levi being lowered down into the earth. And I'm just lost, wondering about my thoughts. Barely a month after the death of Uncle Levi, his wife, Miss Gold, was seen everywhere around town with this rich dude whom we later discovered were having illicit affairs. She could not care less about little Lily, so Dad and Mom took her in with them. And you know the saying, once bitten, twice shy. Such was our experience, and probably Uncle Levi was right in his earlier resolve against marriage. He would still be alive if he never got married. Time flew quickly, and the increasing demands of business had slowly began to dim the memories of Uncle Levi. One day, I was at the headquarter office at DD, with lots of food orders coming in. The last order came in, and all our delivery men were all out to the field, so I decided to take the delivery while dressed in the company's delivery uniform to the customer who ordered it. On getting to the house, I knocked. Lo and behold, a breathtaking beauty was standing right in front of me. I must have stood there stirring for long until she called me out. Feeling embarrassed, I gave her the food she ordered for. She paid me money and closed the door, but somehow A door in my heart had been opened. One I decided right then and there it would be open for her to walk through. So, 3 days later, I came to that house in my casual wear to see this beautiful stranger that had robbed me of sleep. And again, same experience and same effect came over me. For some strange reason, my brain found it difficult to coordinate itself around her. Everything around me just froze when I came into contact with this beauty. She clearly remembered me, but was uncertain what I was doing there, seeing that she did not place an order. She taught me to be one of our company's delivery men. I decided to run with it at the moment, a decision made solely on impulse. With the courage I could find, I told her I wasn't there on delivery, and that I was there on a friendly visit. This did not really go down well with her, and she slammed the door against my face, and that's proof it didn't go well. 2 weeks went by, and I went there again to see her, but she was no longer there. Well, 3 months passed, with more disappointments of not seeing her. The Christmas season was quite a busy one, yet not without its fun. We had some new business connections. A multinational company with its branch in our city was going to celebrate the new year with a big ol' open party, and delicious delicacies was chosen for the venue. This was a big win for our company. On the said day, at the Hall of Delicious Delicacies, it was filled to capacity with people both from within and outside the states who came visiting. The staff had to put in more work to ensure that our deliveries was next to none. So you can imagine my surprise when the director of Guyon Corporative, the multinational company, called for my presence up to the platform and personally appreciate us for our hospitality. It really felt good seeing a handful of journalists who came to witness and cover the events at Delicious Delicacies. Every major newspaper company in the state was present, and the realization of what that meant for the company only made me happier. With one strong but smart move, Delicious Delicacies has become the leading company in food and eatery. The pleasant formalities of Mr. Sam Breva, the director of Guyon Corporative, was quick and precise. Mr. Sam Breva was not much of a talker. I did give some little speech of my own as expected, but nothing too lengthy or boring. Keep it tight, precise, and simple, Uncle Levi would say. God, I miss that man. After a wonderful speech, I came down from the stage to personally greet our guest, when the sudden sound of a familiar face behind me caught my attention. So I quickly turned around, praying and wishing it was who I thought it was. And there she was, my mysterious lady, Eve, as it be her name. She was quite surprised to know I was the owner of Delicious Delicacies, and for some reason I did not feel uncomfortable with that. She was with me all through the rest of the day. Needless to say, we started dating. Eve, a 25-year-old receptionist who worked a big law firm, was incredibly smart and beautiful with a good sense of humor. By the next couple of weeks, she had moved in with me. The coming months saw Eve quitting her job as a receptionist to work with me at Delicious Delicacies as our general accountant. Everyone liked her. Joe, Mom, heck, even Dad were all fond of her. We sometimes spent Sundays together with my family, and it was usually fun playing the games of chess, which Eve was surprisingly great at. 3 years had passed, and it just felt like it was only yesterday. Although Eve had been pushing for more serious commitment from me, I'd always felt it was just not the right time. Our 3-year relationship anniversary was just around the corner, and so our friends were invited. The celebration was going to take place at our residence. I was going to propose to Eve right there. Everything was perfect. Everything. Until Bob showed up. Bob was the best friend of my younger brother Joe and a good family friend. For a while, he had not felt too good. Joe told me he got his heart broken by a girl who just only had interest in his money and left him when he had a financial crisis. I guess Bob must have healed from that hurt and was even feeling a lot better because he was good-spirited when he walked through the door. He walked in at the time I was proposing to Eve. As it turned out, our 3-year anniversary celebration became an engagement party. All was going great, until I took Eve with me over to meet Bob. Both faces turned pale as a ghost. Eve had to excuse herself, saying she's come down with a pounding headache. Bob was ice cold, but did not say a word. I knew something was wrong, but could not really tell what it was, until Bob told Joe that Eve was the same girl who he dated a few years ago, who left him when she discovered he was penniless. He had picture evidence of the two together and their text messages to prove his point. All these Joe showed me. I couldn't believe my eyes. She had never mentioned her past relationship with me all through our 3 years of relationships, and even worse, I'd grown to love her so much. Joe suggested me asking her to sign a prenup before marriage, a thing that did not go down well with Eve. We had our fight, it was for days, until eventually I succeeded in making her sign the prenup if she wanted the marriage to take place. Everything fell back to normal, with the prenuptial agreement already signed and the wedding in just about 2 weeks. Suddenly, barely, just 7 days to go, Eve called me sad, crying. When I inquired as to what the problem was, she told me she was dying. She's been diagnosed with cancer and would have to go back to her hometown for treatment. She sounded very convincing, and I mean it. It was hard not to believe the tears and the report of the results showing she had cancer. So, the wedding was called off. She posted on her Facebook page with lots of sympathizers pouring in the sympathy for her. Everyone believed it. Everyone except Joe. He suspected she was only pretending, as she also made private investigations at the hospital where the report came from, just as he suspected it was fake. Actually, she had a minor flu, which somehow she managed to fake as having cancer. He showed me the results and proof of his findings, debunking the false claim of the result that she had cancer. I was so mad and furious. I called her a phone number several times, over and over again, but she was not answering. I left her a dozen messages, but she never replied. I guess she suspected she's been unmasked and exposed. Consequently, I decided to make a video tagging her to it, debunking her claim of having cancer. She was just in it with me for the money as she was with Bob. Now, from what I gathered, the hospital she used to fake the results are angry and, as I heard, will be pushing to sue her. If and when she's found. She's going to prison. Eve was really good at her game of deception and lies, like she was great at playing chess. She even fooled our father, a feat that is simply not easily achievable. Let's just go ahead and do a shout out in the comment section below for Joe, OP's brother, who saw right through this woman, and he knew exactly that she was up to no good. Lo and behold, she's done this before. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this story, and let me know, do you like videos that have one story that's really long, or do you prefer multiple stories throughout the video? Drop your opinions, thoughts, and comments down below, and I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.